record the actual virtual event, and so that we can share it with anyone that missed it. And then I'll go ahead and start to admit guests. And we'll give Mel a little bit of time to log in. If he doesn't log in by the time we get started, then I'll just ask Reggie and Marcus if you guys could look out for him, so that once he logs in, we can give him co-host permissions. And to all the guests that are logging in, welcome. We're going to give folks a couple of minutes to log into the meeting. Okay, I see Mel right there. So we're giving folks a little bit of time to log in and get set up with Zoom. This evening we're going to present Fivetran. Super excited to have you guys. Thank you guys for jumping on early. This should be a very informative evening, but we're going to go ahead and kind of do some housekeeping and make sure all of our presenters are set up with access. So, so Mel should be in here. Let me just make sure Mel has permissions. Co-host. Okay, Mel. So I'm granting you co-host permissions, Mel, so that you can turn on your audio and video when ready.
Thank you, Will.
Excellent. Welcome. Okay, so I think we have all of our Fivetran folks on the call, and to all of our guests, thank you guys for joining us. We're excited to have you guys this evening. We're going to present Fivetran, a little bit about their opportunities. You'll get to meet the team. But first things first, I want to give folks a little bit of time, before we get started. We will be recording the presentation. So if you have to jump off early, we will have a recording, and I'll share that recording after the event. So thanks for everybody joining in on time. And for those of you that were earlier, we really appreciate it. But we'll give folks just one more minute and then we'll get started. And for the Fivetran folks, you guys have any questions for me before we get started? And for my HBCU Connect team, I'm going to ask that you guys monitor the waiting room and let the guests in as they arrive, because once I get started, you know how I get rolling, all right? Okay, so if everybody's ready, I'd like to go ahead and get started. As we present, we've got limited time this evening to present Fivetran, to present the team that's taken their time out to share their opportunities with you guys, to share their experiences with you guys so that you can learn more about not only Fivetran as a company and the opportunities that they have, but also you can meet some of the actual folks that work for Fivetran and learn about what they do for the company. First things first, I want to make sure you guys understand this is a virtual event. You guys, it will be interactive, but we don't need our guests to actually activate their audio or video. The way we'll control the interactivity is if you have questions, just drop your questions into the text chat, and we'll have an actual Q&A section of the event, and I will moderate your questions from the chat and then ask those questions to the Fivetran team. So you don't have to worry about audio and video, so just keep that off. We want to limit our distractions and focus on the team members from Fivetran. But if you do have questions, feel free to type those into the text chat. And I'm going to ask that the Fivetran team, if you guys can also keep an eye on the chat when you're not speaking, so that you can answer some of those questions, so that when we get to the Q&A, we can focus on some of the questions that have not been answered. All right, so that's sort of my housekeeping, but let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I want to do is I want to share our agenda for the evening. So what we're going to cover this evening is, first, of course, I'm going to introduce myself, but following my introduction, I'm going to introduce you to the keynote speaker, Amanda Townsend, and then after Amanda finishes up, sort of giving you a high-level overview of the company. Then we're going to go into introducing you guys to each of the panelists or team members that have taken the time out to share their information about themselves and their background, but also what they do at Fivetran. So I'm gonna introduce you guys to each one of the team members and panelists. Then once I've introduced everyone, we're gonna do a panel discussion, which will be sort of like a fireside chat with a conversation between HBCU Connect and Fivetran on behalf of you, the candidates. So I'm gonna ask some questions to help you guys get a better idea of the actual company culture and what it's like to work for Fivetran. So after that panel discussion, then we'll open up the floor to any interactive questions that you guys want to ask through the chat window. I will moderate those questions and ask those questions as they come in to the members of the team at Fivetran. And then after that live Q&A, after you guys have a chance to kind of ask those questions, then we'll close out the event with next steps. And then I'll hand it over to Stephen Lavergne, who's on the HR team there at Fivetran. All right, so without further ado, let me introduce myself. A lot of you guys may know me already. I am the founder and CEO of HBCU Connect. We do events like this to help companies that are interested in hiring diverse candidates all over the country. In the past, we've done these events actually physically in different locations all over the country. But once COVID hit, we actually pivoted from doing these events physically to doing them virtually. And so, our relationship with Fivetran is actually just starting out. We wanted to help Fivetran connect with different types of talent within the African-American community. And so we decided to partner on this event and bring their opportunities to you guys so that you guys can actually learn about what Fivetran does and also learn about how you can land an interview. So that's what brings us to our event this evening. And thank you guys for making this event possible. So the opportunity for you guys this evening is to really learn more about the company, learn more about the individuals that work for the company and the company culture, to be able to ask those questions that you might have, learning about a new company that, this is, like I said, our first event with Fivetran. So, this should be a very informative event. Make sure that you make the most of it, and then make sure you do your part after the event to actually apply for the opportunities that they have available. So that is the whole purpose of this evening, and I hope you guys make the most of it. So without further ado, Amanda, if you are ready. Amanda is actually the VP of Global People Operations, and happy to introduce you tonight if you're ready.
I am ready. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So actually, if you would like to just give a little bit about your background and what you do at Fivetran.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. So yeah, as Will mentioned, I'm the VP of Global People Operations at Fivetran. I'm from New York City originally, and I've lived all around the country. I'm not really from anywhere, actually, but I am a Dominican, so Afro-Latina, representing over here. I went to Seattle University and studied strategic communications. And before that, I was studying dance and psychology, actually. And I'll talk a little bit about that in my presentation. I've done a lot of different things, and I'll talk about these as well in my presentation. But, many different things have led me to this career, and it's been a windy road, and I'm really excited that I've ended up here. So Marnay from my team is going to share my deck and my presentation. We'll get started.
Excellent.
Thank you, Marnay. Okay, so yeah, I already introduced myself, but I am really happy to be here. This is my first ever HBCU event. I did not go to an HBCU college, sadly, but I am really excited to be here with everyone today and about our new partnership with HBCU Connect. And, as a Dominican Afro-Latina woman in tech leadership, increasing diversity in the tech industry, especially within our Black and Brown communities, is really important to me personally. And I'm really proud of my team for continuing to develop community partnerships with organizations helping the mission like HBCU Connect. So today I'm going to go over a bit about Fivetran, myself, how I got into the company, and how I got into tech. And then I will give you an insight into what it's like to work at Fivetran and some of the initiatives that we are building around inclusion. Next slide. All right. Sounds like it's choppy. I wonder if my internet is fine on my side. Oh, sorry about that, everyone. I'm not sure if there's anything we can do about it. Okay, well, what is Fivetran? We are a global SaaS company based in Oakland, and we are a leader in automated data integration. What our product does is we deliver ready-to-use connectors that automatically adapt as schemas and APIs change, and that ensures consistent, reliable access to data. And Fivetran improves the accuracy of data-driven decisions by continuously synchronizing data from source applications to any data destination, allowing analysts to work with the freshest possible data. And we have over 1,300 customers today, and we're growing more every day. Next slide. So how was our company born? By these two awesome gentlemen named George Fraser, our CEO on the left, and Taylor Brown, our COO on the right, who's also my boss. George and Taylor grew up together in adulthood and decided to start this amazing company. And after many iterations of their dream, they founded Fivetran in 2020 out of a Y Combinator program. So we are headquartered in Oakland when we aren't in course, and we have 8 offices around the world, and we just passed our 450 employee milestone. So that's a really big deal for us. We've experienced a ton of growth, and we've actually hired about 400 employees in the last 2.5 years. So most of our growth has happened recently. We built a company that truly allows everyone to bring their authentic selves to work every day, which really fosters a culture of inclusivity and belonging. Next slide. So how did I get here? This is my crazy career path that I like to share with everyone because it's not typical. And I think it's really important to highlight the myth that, all career paths are a straight line to the destination. So as you can see, I started in college, I was in an ad company, and I studied psychology. And then I decided that I was going to go into marketing. So I transferred to Seattle University. I lived in Seattle for about 11 years. And then from there, I worked in marketing. I worked in the music industry. I'm a musician myself. I worked at a few different media companies, and from there, I went into production, and I produced a lot of corporate events and music festivals around the country. And then from there, I decided that I wanted to get a career coaching certification because I love helping people with their careers, and a lot of people were asking for their resumes and interviewing. And so I decided to start a business doing that and got a master coaching certification. During that program, the certification program, I decided that I wanted to change career paths again, and something where I actually use my coaching skills, and I, discovered HR. And so I got lucky, and I got my first position at a tech company in Seattle doing recruiting, and I was quickly promoted to HR manager position. I got an HR management certification from University of Washington. And then I decided that I wanted to move to the Bay Area after spending a decade plus in Seattle, and landed at Fivetran. And my first role at Fivetran was technically an office and HR manager. They gave me this director title shortly after, and was just promoted to VP of Global People Operations a few months ago. So, this journey that you see is over the course of 13 years, actually. So it didn't happen quickly, and I definitely took my time and was very methodical about my career path, even though it doesn't look that way. But I'm very happy with where I ended up, and Fivetran has been a really incredible company to work for. So, next slide. So these are things that I currently oversee at Fivetran: workplace operations, so all office management and facilities, and basically employee experience in any Fivetran space. Recruiting is self-explanatory, finding the best candidates and best employees that we can globe. I oversee employee engagement and development, which is a new team that we just started at Fivetran that has diversity, equity, and inclusion, and also leadership development. And some of my team is actually here today, and you'll hear from some of them as well. And then I also oversee human resources, just making sure that we keep our employees happy and that we, basically that's the foundation of people operations right there, find, grow, and keep. So that's what I spend most of my days doing. Next slide. So a bit about Fivetran as a company. Like I mentioned, we've gone global. So we are in Oakland, which is our headquarters, and all of our teams are located here. And we have Denver, we're mostly sales and marketing. We have an office in Dublin, Ireland, that's mostly sales, marketing, and a few engineering positions. Munich, Germany, and London are both sales offices and very small right now, but will be growing in the future. We have an office in Russia, Kaluga, Russia, which is an engineering office. Another tiny office that we just opened this year in Sydney, Australia, in a sales and marketing office, an office in engineering and customer support. Next slide. So this is a really exciting slide for me to talk about because, after being at Fivetran for the last 2.5 years and starting at the company when we were only 60 employees and crammed in a tiny office in Oakland, it's pretty cool to say that we've reached unicorn status. And that means is what you're looking at here. So we raised $163 million in VC funding, and that has recently put us at a $1.2 billion valuation. So in June, we closed our Series C round of $100 million, and some of our investors, the ones that you see here, Andreessen Horowitz, Catalyst, Matrix Partners, CEAS Investments, and they've invested in companies like Airbnb and Slack, and tech companies that you've probably heard of, and so we're very excited that they've chosen to invest in us. Next slide. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about our culture and the incredible company that we built with brilliant humans. So we have these core values, and there used to be 6 core values, but we developed those about 2.5 years ago when I started, so we could have a clear foundation of core values to build our company off of. And we decided to narrow them down to 3 that we felt were the most important, which are integrity, initiative, and one team, one dream. And these core values are basically built. We make a lot of decisions based off of these core values, and we make all of our hires and promotions based off of these core values as well. So they're very important to us and imperative for company success. Next slide. So here are some statistics that I wanted to share with you about our incredible culture and also diversity statistics, because I think it's important that we provide some transparency about where Fivetran is today in regards to diversity. So every year we send out a global culture survey to our employees internally, and this year we got a 91 out of 100, which is very high, and I'm really happy to see that our employees are so satisfied and happy with their employee experience at Fivetran. We are consistently winning more and more best place to work awards across the globe, including in India and Ireland and different places in the US like Denver and Oakland. The awards that we've won off to the right there. We have a 98% rate, which means that only 2% of our employees leave each year, which is incredibly low attrition. Typically in tech, you see around 70 to 75% employee retention rates, and turnover is high. So this really shows is that our employees are very happy and they see us as a great place to work. We also donated over $14,000 to social justice organizations since May 2020 after the George Floyd incident happened, and we are continuing to do different initiatives and programs after that horrible incident. We also do an annual company trip to destination resorts each year. And so our entire global company will fly out to a destination resort together and spend a week just having fun and not working. This year we were supposed to go to Mexico, but then COVID happened. And so we moved it to next November, and we're hoping that we'll be able to make that happen next year. Our diversity statistics, something I wanted to share. So currently in the United States, we are 30% people of color, and 10% means Black and Latinx. The industry average for that is about 8%. So we're actually above average, but obviously not where we want to be. So we are continuing to establish partnerships like with HBCU CONNECT to increase these numbers. We are also 32% female employees globally, and we have a goal to reach 35% by the end of 2020. And we also are seeing around a 25% industry average there. And so we're well ahead of that and continue to be a role model for other tech companies when it comes to diversity numbers. Next slide. So what's like inside of Fivetran? So we have 4 ERG groups, employee resource groups. And the first one is Black Fivetran Network, BFN. We have a Fivetran Women's group. We have an LGBTQI group called 7 ERG. And we have a Latinx group that was just launched and will be kicking off in November. So what our ERGs do, it's not for lip service. They do a lot of really cool things internally. And some of the things they do are helping the recruiting team recruit underrepresented people into Fivetran. They give a lot of really valuable direct feedback to senior leadership about a variety of different things, and they help us influence policy changes and initiatives that the company is working on. They also will engage in social impact work, volunteering with their local communities, and they also host internal trainings and events that seem to be external as well. Next slide. So another diversity and inclusion initiative that we have at Fivetran is the TEP program. It stands for Tech Equity Pipeline Program. This is an internship experience to increase equity and diversity in the technology industry. And we feel like this was the way that Fivetran could do its part in that mission. And what the TEP program is, it's a 6-month internship. You do not require for this internship. And so what that means is you'd be a 65-year-old restaurant manager who learned to code in her basement and wants to come to Fivetran to join the software engineering team. And if you can pass our interview process, we don't care where you learned your skills, just as long as you can contribute to our team. We offer full benefits, and we also offer the potential opportunity to get hired full-time if there is headcount available. We offer these internship programs in multiple departments. So far, they've been in sales, engineering, product, and people operations. And we've gotten a bunch of executives committed to opening this program up next year for, I think it's 11 different departments on a rolling basis. So these opportunities will continue to expand, and I'm really happy to see that happening. So if you're interested in one of these internship programs, please do reach out to our recruiting team to find out when the next openings are available, and keep checking our career site. Next slide. So one of our really important hires that we're making right now, and that's open on our website, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Director. Myself and some of the folks on this call from my team have all kind of been splitting this work, and we decided that it's time to have someone dedicated to this work on the team. So this person will be helping us with global DEI research, policy and program development, recruiting partnerships, employee engagement and social impact initiatives, ERG management, and internal training. So we are in the middle of the interview process, but if you have someone who's really incredible you'd like to refer, please do reach out to our recruiting team. Next slide. So what are we hiring for today? All of these different departments product, and so on. We're hiring for all of those different departments right now and have a ton of positions open. I believe next quarter we're shooting to hire between 90 to 100 new folks to the Fivetran global team. So there are plenty of opportunities to go around at a lot of different experience levels. What do we look for in candidates at Fivetran? We look for enthusiasm for mission and culture, initiative, integrity, collaboration, cultural intelligence, and respect. What are some of the perks? We offer 100% paid medical, dental, vision, life insurance, program, professional development and training opportunities, and a whole lot more. So I believe that is the end of my presentation here, and the rest of my team will go into a lot more into Fivetran, but thank you so much for having me, and thanks for listening.
Can I ask you a quick question before we let you go?
Absolutely.
So I always like to, get to know everybody's personality a little bit better for some of the teams that we present, for the companies that we work with. So one question I wanted to ask you, for you personally, what is it that you like most about working for Fivetran?
Yeah, I would definitely say the people. Across the board, across all of the departments, especially in leadership, we have some truly brilliantly smart and passionate people at this company. I'm also biased, but I love my people operations team the most. And a lot of them are here on this call today. And so that's what I would say about that.
Excellent. Well, we really appreciate you taking the time out to kind of give us a high-level overview of the company. And thank you for sharing your experiences. So we're definitely going to re-engage with you on the panel discussion. But without further ado, unless you had anything else, I'm going to hand it over to our next speaker.
Sounds great. Thanks a lot.
No problem. So our next speaker is actually going to be Stephen Lavergne. He's actually the Director of Global Recruiting. So Stephen, if you're ready, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself and what you do at Fivetran.
I am ready. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be a part of this this great event. And so yeah, my name is Stephen Lavergne. I'm the Director of Global Recruiting at Fivetran. Originally from San Diego, California, but I have a very crazy background where I moved from San Diego my sophomore year of high school to live in Kentucky, where my dad took a job. I'm still trying to find out why he took us to the crazy parts of Kentucky for that. But I was there and then graduated high school and then came back to San Diego, my hometown, and thought after I got out of high school I would save the world and study criminal justice and be a police officer. And that obviously didn't happen, and found my way into the recruiting world, years later, where I love it. I've been doing this for over 22 years. I've been at Fivetran for just under a year. It seems like longer than that, and that's not actually a bad thing. It's just the time flies so fast at Fivetran. We're so busy. We have a lot of things going on. So my time feels like it's been a few years, and with all my wonderful teammates, it's definitely been great. So some of my past roles, I started off obviously as a recruiter and worked my way up through the ranks of a recruiter, a team lead, and then a field manager, and now a global director. So yeah, I've been very fortunate and happy to be here at Fivetran. And as you all can see from the last presentation, I have a wonderful boss that makes it really easy to come to work every day. So, and a great team. So I'm happy to be here, and thanks for having me, Will.
So a couple of questions for you. Can you speak to a little bit about the typical day in the life for you there at Fivetran? I know you stay pretty busy.
Yeah, you just see I don't have any hair. I mean, it's like a whirlwind. It goes quick. Yeah, typical day in the life, for us on the recruiting team, we are, I think we have, I would feel like one of the most important jobs. We're screening and looking at talent that's coming in. We're the gatekeepers, for Fivetran to bring in some of the best talent in the business. So, but a day in the life for us is a lot of different things, thrown at us between looking at headcount and looking at offers and screening and sourcing people and talking to leadership about things and reports. So it's most days are really, really busy. They're long days, but again, I, like most people, have said in the past, when you love what you do, you don't feel like you work, and I love what I do. So I don't really look at it as it's cumbersome, even though the days can be long, but it's definitely, there's no downtime for sure.
So how did you get your foot in the door? Like, what was your interview process like? And then how did you actually get introduced to Fivetran?
Yeah, so I was actually at a job where, and I think for the people on the call, it's really important whenever you're interviewing or talking, obviously after you've done your research on the company, which I did on Fivetran, I think it's really important to really assess who you're going to be working with. And I actually was not happy at work. I had a boss that I really wasn't happy with, and came home one night and was like, I'm going to apply for something. And I actually went online and saw Fivetran, which is, I was in Oakland, and Fivetran's in Oakland, so it was great. It was right down the street, and I actually applied, and I think in a couple days, I got a reach out, and then I was on a call with Amanda, and it was kind of a whirlwind because she was actually leaving to go to Dublin, and I talked to her, and she's like, hey, I have a question for you. Would you mind coming in today and talking with me in person? I'm actually leaving for Dublin. I was like, sure, yeah. And then I ended up talking to Taylor, our COO, and pretty fast process after that. I think I was hired within a couple weeks later, but smooth process. And I had really assessed coming into this role and the team that I'd be working with, if I enjoyed this process so much, and I'm pretty critical of the interview process, if I enjoyed it and it was that smooth, I would imagine that everybody else was going through it and having a smooth time too. And as you can see from like our Glassdoor reviews, if you looked at them, people have been pretty happy with us as far as, that goes. We're not perfect, and I will say that, but we definitely do a really good job, and we're always trying to refine and hone processes every day to make things better.
And then, so once you joined the team, you started working at Fivetran, what were some of your first impressions?
I have to be honest and say I would come home after going to the office, and I actually would pinch myself a bit because I was like, man, everyone's so nice. I had people reaching out for me from all over, and I was starting at a time when Black History Month, and Fivetran was doing an inclusion event in Denver. So, Amanda's like, hey, after you started, hey, by the way, I'd love for you to go to Denver and meet the team and then come to the event. And I was like, sure. So it was pretty much of a whirlwind, but it was, again, I kept pinching myself every day going, man, are people really this nice? And even to this day, almost, a year into it, people are extremely nice. They're extremely helpful. Everybody's looking for you to be successful. What can they do? It is definitely an environment where growth is fostered, and people are, everyone's on the same team going for the same goal. As we say here, one team, one dream. So.
That really speaks highly of the company culture. But I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Amanda, and that is, if you had to choose one thing to share with the candidates that are on the call, what is it that you like most about working for Fivetran?
Probably gonna be cliche, but like Amanda said, the people. I mean, I think it's kind of cheesy, but I think that's important, right? I mean, again, being in the recruiting world, who you're working with every day makes things a lot easier for you. And I think, me, and I just told two of my recruiting managers, I think they're on the calls today, that, I love them to death, and they make my job so easy to come to work with. I smile every day. Every time you're getting on calls with people, everyone's excited. So yeah, it is. We have done a phenomenal job hiring people here. There's no hierarchy as far as everybody jockeying for position. People are truly interested in everyone's well-being and the growth of the company. So I would say that's what I would tell people on the call.
Excellent. So Stephen, I appreciate you sharing some of your experiences. Definitely hang on for the panel discussion and for the wrap up at the end. But unless you have anything else, I'll go ahead and introduce our next speaker.
No, I'm good. Thanks, Phil.
Perfect. So Mike, if you're ready, I'd like to introduce Mike Faber, who's the Director of Leadership Development there at Fivetran. Mike, are you ready?
Absolutely. Will, thank you so much for the introduction. You can see from my bio on the screen that I have been around a lot. Part of that is due to my level of maturity, let's put it that way. I think I might be the oldest person at our company. And the thing I love about working, so Will, I'm going to preempt your question, but the thing I love about working at Fivetran is I'm learning every day, and life's too short not to learn every day, in my opinion. My role as Director of Leadership Development is candidly, it's something that drew me to the company. So I was working at Zoom prior to this, and at a job that I really enjoyed with people I really love and still connect with. But Fivetran a year ago was a company of under, I think, 250, 260 people, and they were looking for someone to guide their leadership development efforts. And I've been at companies literally 100 and 1,000 times more, larger than Fivetran was at that time. And they didn't pay the attention to leadership development that Fivetran was willing to pay attention to at that time. And I just thought, this is an opportunity for me to share much of my experience as a manager and as a leader of people over the years, and as a coach. I like to say I've been a coach and a manager for 25, 30 years now. And that just means I've made most, if not all, of the mistakes. And I love having the opportunity to help others learn from those mistakes and learn from the successes that have come along the way as well, primarily because of my contacts with a diverse group of people and a diverse group of thinkers. With my role in people operations, or HR as it's known, my focus is really at helping our current leaders develop their skills, but also identifying the leadership potential and nurturing the leadership potential in our individual contributors. I'm a member of an organization called the Association of or American Society of Training and Development. And the current issue, which you can't see with my background, unfortunately, let me delete that real quick. This is the current issue of T&D magazine. And you can see that the headline is "The Spotlight is on D&I, on Diversity and Inclusion." I have been probably with a dozen different companies in my professional career. And in those dozen companies, the last 10 or so, I have been harping on leaders at the top and in the middle to recruit proactively in the HBCUs. I have friends who went to Grambling, Howard, Southern, and probably a couple of others that I'm not aware of, who saw their careers shunted aside or saw their aspirations dismissed because of the color of their skin or their gender. And I think I can be candid with this group, since I know you all personally. That pisses me off big time. And so when this opportunity came along, and knowing Will's dedication to his craft and dedication to those of you affiliated with HBCUs, this was something that I just feel incredibly passionate about. And I like to say to folks here, I'm working with people who are half my age and twice as smart, and I love every minute of it.
So I really think it speaks highly of the company that they invested in a position like yours, right? Yep. So can you speak to a little bit about, what your initial impressions were, once you got started with the company, and then maybe some of your goals around, leadership development in the future for the company?
Sure. So initial impression, extremely welcoming. Just, I think to sort of piggyback on what Stephen said before, everyone here, every one of our employees is invested in each other's success. Part of that is just sort of natural for a startup organization. But I've been at other places where people were just seeing who they could climb on to get to the next level. And I love Amanda's graphic of her career progression. I like to tell folks that career progression these days especially is not a ladder, it's a climbing wall. You're going to go up, you're going to go down, you're going to go sideways at different times to get to the place where you need to be. And I feel like this is the place I need to be. In the coming year, there are some real key watchwords for me. One is empowerment for all and leadership for all. I have a buddy here in Denver who wrote a book that's titled, "You Don't Need a Title to Be a Leader." And I truly believe that. So whether it's an individual contributor who's been on their job 3 weeks, or whether it's one of our executives who's been here since the start, everyone has the ability and hopefully the desire to improve their leadership skills. And you know, my goal over the next year is to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to do that, because the type of growth that Amanda and Stephen are generating from recruiting and from HR overall is going to require us to grow leaders internally and to grow those leaders aggressively. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I mean in a way that builds on their natural skills and talents.
So since you preempted my my ace in the hole question about what it is you like most about working there, let me ask you, what is the day in the life like for you at the company?
You know, it's a lot of learning. Right now, I'm working with Amanda and a few other folks on our team and an outside consultant to build what our coaching program looks like for 2021 and what our leadership development programs look like for 2021. And I've rolled out some of that stuff, and some of that is still sort of in the works. So I do a lot of research during the day, candidly. I do some reading, and then I'm trying to take all of those leadership philosophies and leadership lessons and put them into formats that our folks can learn from easily. Because we're running a business here, and it's not like everyone has 8 hours a day where they can take off and do learning and development. We've got to be able to deliver that leadership, those leadership lessons in bite-sized pieces that people can, I was about to say snack on, it's close to dinner time, that people can take in quickly, learn a lesson, and then apply it right away.
Excellent. It's been a pleasure getting to know what you do there at the company, as well as with Stephen and Amanda. But unless you had anything else, I'll go ahead and introduce our next speaker, but make sure to hang around for our panel discussion.
You got it, Will. Thank you so much.
Okay, so our next speaker is Amira Althany. Amira is in sales enablement and a senior program manager with Fivetran. So Amira, if you're ready.
Yeah, I am. Thanks so much, Will. And thanks to your organization for having us all on today. This is really cool. And I love my colleagues and actually learning a little bit more about all of them today too. So this is awesome. Yeah, so a little bit of background about me. I'm Arab American. I was born in Saudi Arabia. My father's Saudi, mom's American, but I grew up in Colorado. Went to school here, and I've been in Denver now for about 12 years. I moved to Denver actually to finish up my bachelor's and master's degree in communication. Initially, I had started thinking I was going to be a doctor, and that went horribly south when I realized I couldn't pass chemistry to save my life. So I switched to communication, and I fell in love with that right after, went for my master's degree. And then I dabbled in a couple other things. So I have a certification in mediation and in event planning. And so all of these things together really helped me be a better program manager now that I'm here with Fivetran. So I've been here just a little under a year, and Mike Faber, who was just on before this, we call him Fabes. Fabes and I have actually worked together at 3 different companies, Zoom being the last one, which is so awesome that we get to share in this journey at Fivetran together also. But for me, I've been in sales at some capacity since I was 14. I think my first sales job was actually working at Polo Ralph Lauren, and then doing like retail and restaurants up through there. My first major corporate job though was at WorldPay, which is a credit card processing company, formerly known as Vantiv. And then I moved to my first startup called Signpost, and then Zoom before it went public, and now at Fivetran. And I personally love for working at startup companies because you have such a great impact. The people are excited, the culture is full of energy, and you really get to come in and take a piece of that and say, I have this creative idea, and there are not enough resources yet in the company. So you get to have a hand in not only your role, but also doing other things that are impactful to you. So for example, one of the things that I really like is I've helped start a green team at Fivetran. So we really care about the environment and our community around us. And then I'm also a member of the Black Fivetranners Network. So even though I don't identify as part of the African American community, I believe that I can be an important ally there. And so that's kind of a little bit about my job. In terms of what my really long title means, I'm basically a teacher for adults. So when you start at Fivetran and you're going through your onboarding program, I'm here to make sure that you're not only really excited about the decision that you've made, but also to make sure that you have all the tools and resources you need to be successful. So you come in, we do your first week of onboarding. We have a couple other programs and tools to make sure that you're up and ready to go. And then after that, I'm busy working on specifically sales related programs to make sure that we are driving revenue for the company and also reducing ramp time for our new hires so that we get that time to productivity much quicker. So that looks like a lot. I'm having constant meetings every day, maybe, I don't know, seven meetings a day. And then I have different projects that I work on throughout the week.
So you being in program management, so we do a lot of events that are for tech talent and for program management talent.
Cool.
And when I was in corporate America a long time ago, before I actually started running HBCU Connect full time, we had project managers, and I was a software engineer, so we had the project manager, but there wasn't as many, program managers. But now program management is like a field that a lot of professionals want to get into. So can you speak to maybe program management and what you do there at Fivetran and how it might be different from program management at other companies, or the same, but I know a lot of people are interested in program management and probably the program management opportunities there at Fivetran.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I think I already had naturally some qualities that led nicely into that. I'm highly organized, I'm pretty direct, I'm good at executing. But all that to say, I still had skills I need to develop. And my boss, Patak, who actually just went on maternity leave, she's amazing. She's really helped coach me up on how to be more effective with my time and prioritization, which can be really difficult when your job is to partially be a cheerleader and advocate for these other teams. And everyone says, hey, I want your help. Oh my gosh, how do I prioritize effectively to make sure that I'm helping everyone, but also meeting the business needs of the company? So I think there's a few things you can do. There's a website that I really like called Udemy, and it offers free, well, some of them are free, but they're not very expensive either way. They're like $15. And they have different courses that you can take that really help build you up. We also have professional development skill trainings available at Fivetran, one of them being like professional speaking development. And a few other things there. Mike Faber also has a big hand in some of those development programs that we have available.
So last question, and one of my favorite questions is, what is it that you like most about working at Fivetran?
Yeah, you're gonna hear it again, the people, but I'm gonna elaborate a little bit more on that. And that is, so for me, at some of my previous jobs, right, it's always important to hire people who are self-motivated and ready to learn and make mistakes and get back up and persevere. However, it's rare, if ever, that I've had a boss who takes so much time to actually coach me to help me be better. So for example, my goal in the next round of promotions is to be hired to director for our learning enablement and development team. And my boss has really taken the time to help me put together a personal development program so that I can reach those goals, look at maybe what I'm not so great at and help build on that. And then also praise me for the good work that I'm doing. And that's just been huge. I've grown so much at this company, even in the last 10 months I've been here. So I'm really grateful for this opportunity and also to share with all of you.
Excellent. And that's why we appreciate you being here and taking the time out to share with us. So thank you. Unless you have anything else, I'll go ahead and move on to our next speaker.
No, go for it. Okay,
cool. So thank you, Amira. And our next speaker is Joseph Long. Joseph is a marketing campaign manager there at Fivetran. Joseph, if you're ready.
Yes, I'm ready. I'm trying to move up a bit of the sun here. So I'm Joseph. I'm a marketing campaign manager here at Fivetran. I'm originally from New Jersey. I did my undergrad at Monmouth University, which is a small private school on the Jersey Shore. And for grad school, I went to Northeastern, which is up in Boston. Been at Fivetran, under a year. And so some of my past role, it's been a lot of marketing based stuff. So I've done events marketing, I've done global marketing, had the chance to live abroad and work at a company overseas. So that was really cool. Email marketing, pretty much you name it. In marketing, I've done it. Account management. Yeah.
How did you, what was your path to Fivetran? Like, how did you end up working at Fivetran?
Good question. So my path to Fivetran, I actually knew of Fivetran because I worked at a partner company. So I was familiar with Fivetran, and I currently live in Oakland, and they had an event downtown. So I went to the event and I met some of the recruiters there. So that was during Black History Month. And then they had another event, which there was a panel, I forget exactly the context, but Amanda was there and I met some of the recruiters. I believe it was Emily I was speaking with. And then, yeah, one thing led to another, and that's how I ended up joining.
What was the interview process like?
The interview process was pretty smooth. So I met with my boss. Well, he's my boss now, but during the time I was interviewing with him, and yeah, it was a pretty painless process.
And then tell me a little bit about like a day in the life for you, because there's a lot of people might have marketing background, but they don't know exactly how their marketing background would apply at different companies. So can you talk a little bit about, once you came on board, once you got settled into the job, what is it like for you in a day in the life?
Got it. So I'm on the demand generation team, and so we're responsible for a new business. So a lot of what we do is planning. So today, for example, we were planning our Q4 content strategy. And so a lot of that involved like data and intuition. So we're looking at like Google AdWords and the keywords that we use and search intent, and then plugging that into how can we turn that intent that people are already searching for and make content so it's relevant. So we're trying to both get net new leads and boost our SEO rankings. So we had a whole conversation about that, which is always fun.
So I know a little bit about marketing and a little bit about like SEO and that kind of thing. So is that for Fivetran to basically land new customers?
Yes. So there's like a few different aspects of it. So one of them is brand. So making sure that people are aware of Fivetran, and also it's just for intent. So when people are searching for something like data integration, we want to make sure that we have relevant results and organic so that it would lead them to our site. And then they're looking for a data integration tool and they would purchase Fivetran.
Got it. So I have to ask my marquee question, right? So people can kind of get to know your perspective better. And that is, what is it that you personally like most about working there at Fivetran?
Got it. I would say, yeah, it's the projects. I mean, I think we have the opportunity, to Amira's point, when you're at a startup, you can do a lot of really cool projects, basically. So for example, one that we have planned that's supposed to go live, I think in the next 2 weeks, is an interactive ebook. One thing that we've noticed is during the time of COVID, there's been a lot of webinar fatigue. And so myself and our team as marketers, we're trying to figure out kind of what will resonate with the audience. So we're doing all these experiments. And so since there is webinar fatigue, we're like, okay, maybe not just a regular ebook, but make it interactive. So you can go to this ebook and there's like an interactive quiz that's built inside of it. So that's launching in the next 2 weeks. We also did a boot camp, which is a little bit different. What I mean by boot camp is like, it's a learning series over the course of 3 days. So that was something that launched in early October, and we're seeing really good results from that. So we're doing a lot of experimentation to, again, see what resonates with our audience. And I really love that we have the wherewithal to do that. So it's never like, no, don't try that. It's just like, please, yes, keep experimenting. So really like that aspect.
Last question for you. If you were to give some advice to somebody, that maybe has a experience like your past experience, and then you ended up working at Fivetran. If you were to give folks advice about coming to Fivetran, what would it be?
Got it. I think some just general advice in terms of getting into marketing. There's so many free tools that you can leverage, and I think it will really give you a leg up. So in terms of like Google Analytics and basically just understanding how to navigate that, understanding UTM parameters. We use Salesforce a lot. And that's pretty much every tech company. So I think you can't really go wrong if you know a lot about Salesforce, and you can download like a developer license and just like know what the campaign is in Salesforce and how that works. And a lot of these, again, are free. And if you just take the time, that will really give you a huge leg up, like just knowing, again, a UTM parameter and how that works. Yeah. Excellent, man. Thanks, Joseph. I appreciate you taking the time out to talk about your experience and what you do there at Fivetran. Unless you have anything else, I'll go ahead and move to our next speaker. Sounds good. Thank you. Okay, thanks, Joseph.
So our next speaker is Santiago Vélez, who's an account executive there at Fivetran. So Santiago, if you're ready.
Yeah, thanks, Will. Yeah, my name is Santiago Vélez. As Will mentioned, account executive here at Fivetran. Started off as a BDR, business development rep, which is an entry-level role at Fivetran on the sales side. And about 9 months in, was able to get promoted to the account executive role, which has been an awesome journey. My parents are both Colombian. I was born in Florida, but have dual citizenship and spent my summers in Colombia growing up. Was very passionate about soccer my whole life. Ended up playing D1 for the University of Louisville and getting a bachelor's in marketing and a minor in entrepreneurship. In my last semester, I met the inventor of this soccer product called it was called the Soccer Sidekick by then. We changed the name to Futsolo. It was a soccer ball with a special cord that allows the ball to come back to different heights of your body depending on the adjustment after you kick it. And it was a pretty awesome journey in the very small startup world of product sales. The company was kind of in a tough cash situation when I joined it, and just in operations and whatnot. Devoted 3 years of my life to that. Learned a ton about, one, how to not start a company, and two, what could have been done better in future companies, et cetera. And really came to an inflection point where I was like, okay, I'm kind of done putting all my blood, sweat, and tears into this after butting heads with the inventor quite a bit, and started looking for other options, and gratefully found, went to a Boulder Startup Week event where Fivetran had a booth, and met Todd Ritter, who was my manager as a BDR, and joined the Fivetran team. And very, very grateful for that, because the biggest reason I love working at Fivetran is the product market fit, and like the mission of Fivetran is so powerful. And we're solving such a relevant pain that's universal for businesses. So, it's kind of working towards, we're all working towards a same goal, and it's just like a unique product that's really solving a pain. I can't imagine, with like the entrepreneurial bug that I have in me, working for a company that is just, selling video conferencing software, or, something that's more kind of just like, just standard. Fivetran is very unique, and it's solving a huge pain, and, having a purpose every day when you wake up, knowing that, you have a very strong chance of closing business this month, and that it's making an impact in the industry as a whole and in business as a whole is pretty cool.
So, quick question for you. I know there's a lot of folks, as I was kind of looking at the list of candidates that were interested in the opportunities from Fivetran, a lot of folks have business development backgrounds. So for them, it probably would be very interesting to know kind of like what a day in a life is like for you. So can you kind of give us sort of a typical day in the life for an account executive there at Fivetran?
Definitely, yeah. It's a balance of prioritizing. Prioritizing is key, and focus is key. You can easily go down rabbit holes of non-productive work, spending your time in Slack, or like, which is our messaging, intra-company messaging platform. Or you can spend your time overthinking an email and whatnot. It's key to prioritize. It's a balance between, outbounding, because we still have to do some business development ourselves and schedule meetings for ourselves. Managing relationships with partners. Fivetran doesn't work by itself. We need a data warehouse to deliver data into. And with that, you need a business intelligence tool to stack on top of the data warehouse. So managing the relationships with our partner reps at those other companies that we work closely with, like Snowflake, like Looker, et cetera, is key to helping you find more deals. And then closing the deals, working to move the deals that you currently have in place to the next stage. So days can get, very, very busy, but you gotta kind of stay calm in the pocket, and, not let the pressure of having so many different things to do get to you. So kind of balancing, with meditation or whatever it is that gets you in a calmer state of mind is key, because it's a lot of stuff that's coming at you, but it's the only way that I would get excited to tackle my day is when I know there's a lot that I have to move. And then if I do that, I'm going to be in a much better position at the end of the day. And selling Fivetran has become, is becoming easier and easier. Like, we're getting so much brand recognition in the market. People know that we're the best ELT provider in the space. And we're really, like I said, solving a clear challenge.
So speaking to that last point, with it being a little bit easier and easier to sell, and I'm just kind of thinking of the mind of a business development or account executive that might be listening and learning a little bit more about Fivetran. What are some of the tools that you guys use? Like, do you guys use Salesforce? And then what is it from a when you're working on a new deal? Is it mostly from leads that come in from the marketing team, or are you guys actually going out and cultivating new business at conferences, or what does the flow look like?
Yeah, it's we use Salesforce, we use SalesLoft, we have Chorus that records our calls. That's a big factor that played into my getting promoted, was as I was a business development rep, when I was doing busy work of importing contacts, or while I was driving, I would listen to the best reps' calls, and that's what I learned by doing and by watching others do, more so than I learned with structured quizzes or things like that. So that was key for me, to be able to listen to other reps' calls and understand how they react or what they say in certain situations. That's a very useful tool. But mainly, using Salesforce, that was very new to me. So I had a decent learning curve, where I was breaking stuff. I was not checking the right thing, not checking the right boxes, but learned that pretty quickly, and then getting very comfortable with Salesforce at this point. But yeah, those are probably the main tools. We also use Lead IQ and LinkedIn Sales Navigator, Lead IQ to pull contacts into our cadences. And then those are the ones that come to mind. Other tool like Built With or Wapalizer tells you kind of, it guesses what kind of softwares a website has plugged in. And so you can use that as to kind of build relevance with the prospects. And to answer the second part of your question, it's a combination of all. It's marketing leads are MQLs that we get. So vetting those out, doing discovery to qualify them and see if it's a real opportunity. Aligning, deals come from partners, deals come from your business development rep as well. And then there's an expectation to generate a certain amount of ops on your own as well. So it's a combination of all. And it's important to cast a wide net, but also, be focused with your outreach and not just like spray and pray.
Excellent. Hey, thank you, Santiago, for sharing your experience. And unless you have anything else, I'm going to go ahead and present our next speaker.
Thanks, Will.
Okay, thank you. So our next speaker is Mel Vélez, and Mel is actually the Chief Technology Officer at Fivetran. So one of the reasons why I wanted to have introduce Mel last was because I know there's a lot of folks on the call that have software engineering experience, and maybe you guys are very interested in how Fivetran works. So I thought Mel would be a great person to kind of anchor the list of panelists, and then we'll go into a quick panel discussion and allow you guys to do a Q&A. So Mel, if you're ready.
Thank you, Will, for the introduction. So as a way of introduction, I'm originally from a tiny country called Estonia in Northern Europe. I came to the US when I was at the young age of 22 for graduate school. And I've been at Fivetran now for 7 years. I was one of the original employees. I've moved through multiple different roles. So when I first started, everybody was writing code. So I was an individual contributor, software engineer. And as we started to grow, I took on the role of helping to grow the engineering team. So I was given the title of VP of Engineering, but titles don't necessarily mean that much at a small company. We were still small at the time, so I might as well have been a software, an engineering manager at the time, and I didn't really grow into what would really be a VP of Engineering role until much later, once the organization grew. Right about last year, I recognized my own limitations in terms of not having any prior experience at leading an engineering organization. We had grown to about 100 engineers, and at that point, I looked for somebody more experienced to lead the engineering team. We found the right person for that earlier this spring. And I myself stepped aside to the CTO role, which is a technical leadership role. So at this point, I no longer manage the engineering organization. Instead, I manage the technical architectural roadmap. I think that's about all I have to say about my intro. And I also have a presentation I was going to show you guys just to show you what are we actually building. What is Fivetran? What is the product? I'm going to share my screen real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, there you go. I think you should have permission.
It's telling me I have to quit Zoom to allow screen share. I'm going to right back.
Oh, okay.
No, you actually don't need to do that. You can just go ahead and share. It'll still work.
I think he just quit Zoom to do this.
Okay.
So
fun little trick for those of you using Zoom.
So hopefully once he gets back in, we'll give him the co-hosting permissions, and then we'll continue. And so for everybody that's on, once Mel actually finishes with his presentation, we'll do a quick panel discussion. But okay, so let's make sure Mel has co-hosting permissions. Okay, 1 second. Okay, Mel, so you should have co-host, and then you should be able to turn on audio, video, and share.
Okay, I think I'm sharing now. Do you guys see my screen?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, sorry about the little hiccup there. Should have practiced this ahead of time.
No worries.
Apparently, this new version of Mac OS has more restrictions around permissions. Since it's the first time that I've shared a screen over Zoom, it needed an extra permission. Fivetran on automate data, it's all about automate data integration. And so what does that mean? What it means is if you're a company that's looking to do things like business intelligence, meaning make charts, dashboards, graphs out of your business data, or maybe even do machine learning or whatever it is that you want to do with your company's data, before you can do any of that, you need to centralize your data into one place, a data warehouse. And the data is going to be coming from many, many different places. It could be applications that the company has. It could be databases, files, events, so many different possible sources. And so without Fivetran, what a company would be faced with would be they'd have to do a big project, an engineering project, to connect data pipelines from all of those sources into their data warehouse. It would take them months and months, and they'd have to dedicate an entire team to it. But with Fivetran, they can do that in an instant. So what we have, our product is a data pipeline. It's a service, which means you don't have to do any coding to use it. Instead, you just sign up for it. There's nothing to configure. All you have to do is provide credentials to the data sources and your data warehouse, and Fivetran immediately starts syncing the data. So Fivetran is going to at first pull a full copy of all the data, and then it's going to continually refresh the data in the data warehouse by pulling incremental updates from the sources. So there's going to be ongoing mirroring, maintaining a complete picture of all your data up to date in your data warehouse at all times. And what makes it especially attractive is the fact that we've built out over 100 pre-built connectors to all kinds of imaginable sources. So whatever your sources that there are, you can instantly get connected with Fivetran. And just to show you how easy it really is for our customers, how easy we've made it for them, I'm gonna show you this quick example of what it would take to, for example, connect a Google Sheet through Fivetran into a BigQuery data warehouse. So let's say you had a Google Sheet, such as the one shown here on the lower left. I was showing how often do people at various companies recommend their company to a friend. All you have to do to connect this sheet is copy the sheet ID, which is in the address bar, and then click the share button. And in that share button, you would put in a special email address that you would get from Fivetran. So this screenshot is from Fivetran's user interface. So the first highlighted part, that's that special secret email that Fivetran auto-generates. You share your sheet with that email, and then you put in that sheet ID here, you press save, and it's done. Your Google Sheet is connected to Fivetran. Next, you connect your data warehouse. So you go in the Fivetran UI, you put in the project ID from your Google BigQuery, and again, you do this thing with sharing. The other highlighted thing is another auto-generated email. You put this auto-generated email into Google BigQuery, and it's connected. This screenshot is from a Google Cloud Platform from BigQuery. Those of you who may have worked with Google Cloud Platform might recognize this. And here you can see there's the data. The upper highlighted thing here is a select query that shows we're selecting from this table called ratings. The ratings was the name of the spreadsheet that we synced. And the other circle here shows the data, the 3 rows that we synced. And it's just that simple. Within a few minutes, you can sync data like this. Now, this is a very simple example, but you can just equally easily sync any arbitrary data, no matter how complex. And we have pre-built all these different connectors. The font is so tiny, you can't even read them. And the fact that these are all pre-built is what makes it so easy for our customers. They just come in within a few clicks, they've connected their source, their destination, and they're mirroring the data. For those of you that are engineers, this is what our tech stack looks like. We are using the technology of multiple clouds, AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure. We use Postgres and Kubernetes as parts of our infrastructure. We write most of our code in Java. We use Bazel as a build tool. Bazel is the build tool from Google. And we use Circle CI for continuous integration and deployment. And then one thing that I'm particularly proud of is our engineering team is international. We're distributed across 4 different countries, and we're at this point 135 strong. And that's it.
Excellent. I appreciate you taking the time to actually share some of the technical details. One of the questions I was going to ask you that I think you answered was the technology stack. You mentioned the primary program language being Java. Is that
That's
correct?
right.
Are there any other languages that you guys use for, maybe different parts of the product or the business?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously you couldn't write the front end in Java. So the front end team uses they use JavaScript. They use things like less, yeah. So obviously there's that. It is a very back-end heavy product though, which is why I mostly emphasize Java. And currently all of our front end work is done in the Russia team.
Excellent. Hey, well, we really appreciate you really kind of breaking down the product. I'm sure there will probably be some questions that come in through the chat. But with respect to the time that we have left, I'd like to, ask a couple of questions of the team. So for everybody on the Fivetran team that's still on the call, if you guys want to turn on your video, I want to ask a couple of panel questions. And then for all of our candidates, if you have questions, go ahead and put those questions in the chat window, and then I'll do a mix of my own questions and questions that I see that come in from the chat, and then I'll leave about 5 minutes at the end for Stephen to kind of go over next steps. So if that sounds good to everybody, we'll go ahead and continue with our panel discussion. And then, like I said, candidates, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat, and I'll keep my eye out for those questions. So this is sort of a general question for the team, but I'll start off with Mike. So what advice can you offer candidates that are interviewing with Fivetran to maximize their chances of getting hired in the interview process?
Yeah, I think the advice I would give to this group is the advice I'd give to anyone who's applying for a role with our company. Recognize that one, we value diversity not only in background and experience, but just in thought and perspective. And when you think an idea might be too creative or a take might be too creative, have the courage of your convictions to bring that to an interview and really demonstrate how your unique background and your unique perspective can help make the company stronger. You heard from several of us or several of the folks that, when Will asked, what is the thing that you enjoy the most about the company? We came back to the people, and it's the diversity of that group that makes us such an amazing place to be. So demonstrate your diversity, demonstrate your unique perspective, and really come, full force with who you are and your background. And I think that's the best advice I can give any job seeker. I have 2 kids in college now. That's the advice I've given them. They've ignored it, but they're teenagers. This is the advice I would give to you, and hopefully it's helpful. Thanks for asking, Will.
Excellent, excellent. So I see a question that came in, and it kind of piggybacks on your mention of diversity. And that question was around, I know in the tech space, there are challenges around bringing in more, African-American and Latino tech talent, as well as female talent. So does Fivetran, the question is around, are there any initiatives in place or steps being taken or looked at with regard to bringing in more women and raising that percentage from 32%? So I would think this is maybe a question for Stephen or Amanda.
Yeah, we're doing things like this event. We have our inclusion summits, and we're always looking to expand our footprint here at Fivetran. So the more, and we are always looking, on the lookout for more diverse events and doing more things to to attract people of color and females, because we're those are the things that we are actually lacking. But yeah, I think with with our team, we're always brainstorming events and looking at different things. I actually had a few calls this week with a few other companies like yours that we can get involved in to kind of help us expand our footprint in that space.
Excellent. If anybody else wants to add anything, feel free to add in. But if not, I'll go ahead and ask one of the questions that I had queued up that is relevant to that last question. So a lot of times, one of the concerns that candidates have when jumping from one company to another company is around them being able to be themselves once they get there, right, to the new company. So, as a female employee or a minority employee, I'll open this up to sort of the floor of panelists. Do you feel that you can be yourself working at Fivetran?
I can speak to that. And Amanda, I'd love to hear your opinion as well. But for me, I'm kind of edgy. I got tattoos. I speak what's on my mind. Sometimes I want to shave my head and just be a little wild, but I still get to embrace who I am and show that my level of professionalism and skill set has developed, and that doesn't impact who I am as a person. And we really embrace all of that all the way around. I think the fact that we have 4 different employee resource groups speaks to the fact that we want everyone to feel included. We also have, like when we do our onboarding program, for example, we set aside probably 3 solid hours in that first week just to talk about diversity and inclusion, our core values. And then we do a thumball exercise to really get to know people. And it's a pretty vulnerable exercise, but we do that up front so that everyone knows, like, this is a safe space for you. And so for me, I not only get to physically be who I want to be at work, but I also get to come in with the creativity and the different ideas that Fabes mentioned, and share it with the team and not have people be like, well, what is she thinking? We really take the time to talk about it. And if it's interesting, we'll give it a shot. And I love that.
Excellent. Did anybody else want to add on to that question?
Yeah, I can share my experience. So I mentioned that I was one of the first 60 employees at the company. And at the time, we had less than half of that in the United States. And I think I was the first or second Black employee to work at Fivetran, and I never have once felt out of place. And I'm not just saying that. Everybody is quirky at Fivetran. We all come with different backgrounds. We work at a global company, and everybody's different, and we celebrate that. Our VP of revenue operations has purple streaks in her hair, and we all send each other memes on Slack, and it's a fun place to work. And it doesn't matter what you look like or where you come from, as long as you are bringing something positive to the organization. Everybody's treated the same, and we try to foster that community and that mindset as much as we can. So being a Black woman in tech is definitely can feel trying, just because you are the only a lot of the time, especially at the executive level where I am. But I am able to be myself and talk about my music and things that I'm doing outside of work, and feel totally welcome. So that's been my experience.
Would love to also get the perspective, maybe Joseph or Stephen, on being yourself at the company.
Yeah, I would piggyback off of what what Amanda said. I've been at companies, and I don't know if people can see, but I got earrings in my ear and things like that. And I've been at other companies where that was frowned upon. And being in leadership roles in the past, I actually had leaders come up to me and tell me that I need to take my earrings out. And cover my tattoos and things like that. So I do like that we can bring our authentic selves to work. We can be in, Amanda's right. We are quirky. We're laughing. We're joking. I know when I have my one-on-ones, with Amanda, there's a lot of times we're laughing and joking and, and talking things up. So, I've had some personal stuff going on with family, with COVID and things like that. And I will say, man, this company, people have reached out to me personally. They've reached out to me at work. And that stuff means a ton, because work is important, but home life and family is important too. And to have people calling you on your personal, cell phones and sending you emails and things like that says a lot about, the company. It's not a selfish environment. It's about all of us together growing and stuff. So yeah, I feel totally at home here, and I don't feel out of place at all.
Excellent. So I want to ask one more question that I saw from our candidates for mail, and it's sort of a general question for the company. But the question was around what direction is the company going, I guess, from a product perspective in the next 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, so that I think would be captured by what we call our BHAG, our big, hairy, audacious goal, which is to become the leading provider of automated data integration. And so, yeah, we're very unabashed about that. We want to be the leader, and this fits into the bigger company purpose for us, which is to make access to data as simple and reliable as access to electricity. So, nowadays, when you flip a light switch, you expect the light to turn on, and you don't even think that it wouldn't. We're just so used to electricity just being there, turned on and off when you want it, and don't even think about it. And that's how data should be. And that is the purpose of Fivetran, is to make it just that easy for data as well.
Excellent. So with respect to time, we're going to finish up at 7:30 Eastern time. So I wanted to make sure I saved a little bit of time for Stephen to just speak to next steps around process. So for all of you candidates that are tuned in to learn more about Fivetran and then how you can actually potentially land an interview, I would like to hand it over to Stephen to speak to next steps.
Yeah, so thanks, Will. I know that the team, and I think your team, we've created an interest form that we will be sending out and sharing. We'd love everybody to fill out that interest form. And one of the things I would say is if you're finding positions on our website, try not to apply for more than one position. I think that kind of clogs up the pipelines. And so if you find a position that you are qualified for, that your background fits, please apply for it. And we have a team in place. We will definitely be getting back with everybody in a timely fashion to get you. We are so excited to be here and so excited to have this, this partnership. And I think we've shared the interest form in the chat. And then if you guys, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. As I say on most of the calls that that I'm on, please feel free to reach out to me via LinkedIn. I know some of the people on this call I've already had talks with and chats with. I'm happy to chat with anyone about Fivetran. I love the company. We'll give you all of the ins and outs of the company, but we are definitely looking forward to people filling out the form and then letting us know what positions they're interested in.
Excellent. Thank you, Stephen. So, and thank you to everyone at Fivetran for your commitment to diversity, your commitment to presenting the company to folks that might not otherwise know about the company. So we really appreciate you guys taking out the time to share your experiences, and to all of the candidates that have taken your time out of your schedules to learn more about Fivetran, a company that is obviously committed to diversity, that obviously has a great company culture, and they want to bring in more great individuals to work at the company. Thank you guys to all of the candidates that have taken out the time to attend. So I will also follow up with the instructions. So taking my marching order from Stephen and his team. So I will share that interview interest form link with everyone, and then I'll also share the recording from this actual live event. So if anyone came in a little bit late or had to leave early, you'll also have access to it. So with that, it's exactly 7:30, and I think we are complete. So unless anyone from the Fivetran team has anything else they'd like to share.
I would just say, if anybody has questions about, I saw a couple of things for resume building. Feel free to ping me on LinkedIn, add me, and I'd be happy to help you with that.
Appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you guys again for your time. Did someone else?
I was just going to say, thanks, Will. Yep. Go ahead, Amanda.
I was just going to say thank you too. This was great.
I was just going to say thank you.
Thanks, Amanda. Yeah, thanks for your time. This was a great presentation. It was great for me as well to learn more about the company. We appreciate the partnership. And for all of those folks, all those candidates out there, make sure to do your part. And if you see an interesting opportunity, make sure to apply. And then, like I said, I'll send over the instructions for next steps. Thank you guys, and have a great evening.
Thanks.
Take care.